Good evening and welcome to Telling Tales. Here we tell atmospheric stories together through the medium of tabletop role-playing games. It's Monday night, which means we'll be playing Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. This is the 7th episode in our second arc. It's an anthology series, so this arc is titled Fingask, after the castle at which the investigators are staying. The previous one, Darkwood, is available in full on our YouTube or the Twitch VODs if you wanted to have a look through that. And we're all excited to get stuck into tonight's adventure. So John, do you want to come say hi? John is our stream manager. Hi, John.
Hello.
So John will be checking rules clarifications for us and putting those in our private secret chat that nobody else can see, and putting any images on screen for character art and other such things, most of which John has drawn himself. Thanks, John. All wonderful.
Have fun.
Bye. So promo stuff, below the video there are links to our YouTube if you're watching this on Twitch, or Twitch if you're watching this later on YouTube, our social media, so Twitter and Instagram, stuff like that, our Discord, which you can join and come and chat with us about all things tabletop role-playing and otherwise, and our Patreon as well, which you can join if you want to support us, and that has numerous levels of support, from joining secret bits of our Discord that other people don't have access to, where you might get behind the scenes information, and information ahead of everybody else, that kind of thing, all the way to Matt, who runs a bunch of other games on here, running a game for you and your friends once a month. That's very exciting. Other promo stuff, as I said, Monday nights Call of Cthulhu, Tuesday nights at the moment is Blades in the Dark, which Matt has just started running, which is exciting. Wednesday nights at the moment, Coriolis, which is also very exciting if you like space. And the first Saturday of every month, there is a different one-shot run by different people, including different people, different systems. So far we've had Alien, Troika, Morkborg, Fiasco, and The Expanse. And the next one is July the 3rd, which for the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice is this Saturday. And I am running that one, and I am running Honey Heist. So if you want to see Ocean's 11 with bears, then there it is. Thanks, John, for putting that up, and thanks, Steve, for creating the image. It's going to be very exciting and definitely atmospheric, if the atmosphere is sugary pollen. And also bi-weekly we have a guest spot on the Free League Twitch running Simba Room. Matt's running that. It's a story called Fetters of Stone. I believe the next on week for that is now the 18th of July, because I think that it is off this Sunday. John will correct me in the chat if that is incorrect, but I think the next one is the 18th of July. That's all the promo. Let's jump into the recaps. So at the end of the previous session, Matt's character Samuel had found a weird glass, sort of almost like a magnifying glass on the floor. I think if Inga can come on, who plays Eliza.
Hiya.
Hello. So Eliza, with the looking glass, magnifying glass thing.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh boy. So Albert stayed behind to keep an eye on the circus, and he'd sent Willie off to go pick up Agnes and Thomas and take them down to the village. So he was kind of separate at this point, but Edmund, Samuel and Eliza all head into the hill fort. And Samuel shows us this magnifying glass that he'd found, and obviously we spot that it's got the same sort of constellation patterns that we'd spotted in the hill fort and on the wall art. So we go through, and as people are kind of exploring, Eliza has a little look through the glass at the constellations on the wall, and it's like she's been sort of transported through the cosmos, kind of seeing stars being born and dying. I think she's just like in this vacuum of space, and it seems like a kind of eternity before she's suddenly back at the hill fort, and only half a second has passed, and she doesn't really understand what's been going on. It's like she's just been there, like she's just frozen for half a second. So she's pretty baffled. She feels like physically cold from the experience, and is pretty confused and slightly less sane at the end of all of it. So we have a bit of kind of debate around like what we think is going on and what she's seen, and like what else this might be used for. We meet back up with Albert, who proposes possibly destroying it, but we decide against it because if nothing else, it's evidence or might be useful for uncovering more information. So eventually we kind of decide to head towards the walled garden. And I think along this discussion, all of our little secrets kind of, or the things we hadn't like necessarily told each other will come out. So Samuel kind of finally tells us that he did hear the strange noises the first night, and Edmund tells us about seeing the flash of the constellation in the skies as well. So they were all kind of, everything's out in the open. We decide to head to the walled garden because we haven't been there yet, and see what else might be there. But there's obviously some weird stuff that this magnifying glass will show us.
Great. Oh. If Steve can come on, who plays Edmund. Hi, Steve.
Hi there.
I think you're going to take us to the garden.
Yeah, so we're heading back towards the castle. On the way to the garden, we bump into a number of characters, including Sir John, Thomas Walker, the Duchess, and the Browns, and they're heading off for the evening to get some dinner at the local village pub, which is called the Curious Hare. So Edmund is sort of hangs back to talk to them briefly about what they're doing. The others, well, certainly Albert and Samuel, kind of just ignore them and carry on around the corner. And then from Edmund's point of view, he suddenly hears a gunshot, and Albert, who's in the front of the party, had seen the hare again staring at him, and had immediately taken a shot at it, and had, to his understanding, had entirely hit it square on. But the hare was not bothered in the slightest and hopped off. So after that, we gently removed the firearm from Albert's shaking hands, and then went to have a look at the walled garden, where we learned that the gardener, Jacob the gardener, was in there, and the place was open, so we could actually conveniently pop in, have a look around. So we wander over, speak to Jacob. Edmund tries to pry out a little more information about this curious hare, this myth, this legend, but it seems just to be a tale told to children to stop them from misbehaving. Sir John has a library apparently with more books about folk tales and so on, so that might be worth a look. Edmund's trying to keep things fairly civil and light, but Eliza and Albert, they don't look particularly happy, or particularly, they're kind of disturbed and unsettled by what's been going on. So yes, they give the gardener the creeps. And he sort of decides to remove himself from our immediate vicinity. So at that point, we go on to study this mysterious hallway with the mysterious vase with the looking glass, the spyglass thing.
Yeah, so if Matt can come on, who plays Samuel. Samuel was lucky enough to spot through a glimpse of the glass as Eliza was turning it. Something strange on the wall. Yeah,
so this was a fun one. So Eliza was looking around near the vase, looking through the magnifying glass. And just at a certain angle, Samuel and Albert kind of picked up on something not looking quite right. They kind of told us to stop, and then maneuvered her so that we could all look through the glass at that exact point where we'd spotted something strange. And as we did so, we could see a door, basically, where there was a wall before. The door was only visible when we were looking through magnifying glass, and it just feels like a wall unless you're looking through, and then it feels like a door, which is obviously quite unsettling for Samuel and Willie, and in particular, who've not seen anything really that strange thus far, but everybody, I think, was pretty unsettled by this. So the magnifying glass seems to cause this door to appear, and you can interact with it when you are looking through. But when you're not looking through, then it all just kind of reverts to the norm, which is very strange. Eliza is kind of able to open the door, and I think Albert is following her closely as they head through. And Albert, Willie, and Samuel are kind of just watching this absolutely in awe and shock as this kind of occurs. They're both able to go through, at which point they just appear to have disappeared behind the wall effectively. We can still kind of hear them with some kind of muffled noises, but yeah, they've just completely disappeared through the wall. At a certain point, Albert's hand appears through the wall, just on its own, kind of disembodied completely, and which really unsettles everybody. And then he pulls his hand back and then puts his head through the wall to tell everyone how it's okay, which evidently it's not. So Albert decides to kind of take Willie's hand as if to bring him through, but when he pulls his arm through, Willie, his arm just stops at the threshold. He can't get through. Yeah, understandably, this is pretty shocking for everybody. Samuel is actually completely, basically white out, nauseous, heads to the door, heads outside to get some air. His career has been spent hearing about things like this and kind of noting them down in good humor and making up stories, but not really ever believing that anything could be possible. And so he's reevaluating everything that he's heard of over the last few years of his career to see this, and it's really unsettled him. Albert's quite impatient, wants to press on, and then kind of Willie gives Albert a loaded gun, and at the same time Eliza comes out and kind of managed to persuade Samuel to come and join them, and the group then head down, looking through the magnifying glass through the door and down the stairwell. Within the stairwell they can see a valve that I think was used back in the first episode, and Eliza just encourages us to leave that for now, go down and see what we can find in the room. In the room there's like a pulpit with a book on it, and it looks to be written in an ancient language of some kind. Albert and Samuel think it might be linked to Latin, possibly. There's no author, there's no title on the book. Eliza is using the magnifying glass to look through the book, at which point the ink sort of morphs and shifts and changes as she's looking through, and appears to spell out some kind of spell to summon some kind of extraterrestrial creature or something. That's all we can make out. And I think that's where we finished off.
That is where we finished off. So you're in the basement. The book is in front of you. What are you doing? It's about 4:45 p.m. You know that the circus event is beginning at around 5:30. So I don't think Sir John said exactly when he was coming back, but you would presume it would probably be around then, if maybe a little after. So if you're kind of banking on using the time while he's away, then I'm just making you aware that that's how long you would have.
Jonny, when the ink kind of rearranged itself, is that visible to all of us or just to the person looking through the glass?
Whoever is looking through the glass.
So I think only Eliza would have seen that so far.
Wait, can you see this? The words, those letters. This is it's shifting. Look through the glass. Mr. Thomas, have you seen something like this before?
Wow. No, absolutely not. Although, Mr. Carter, does this look like Latin to you or something similar?
I'll have a look.
I think anybody who's looking through the glass at it will need to make a sanity roll. If you're just looking at the book and the writing that's in it, then no need. Unless you can understand it, in which case maybe. But no, if you're looking through the glass, then you essentially see the ink sort of writhe around the page to readjust itself into something that you can understand.
I
This
did
is
pass.
incredible. Yes, I passed 45 out of 60. This, what is this? What?
I was hoping one of you might know.
So what sort of language? So if it's shifting around into a language that we think we understand, or?
Yes. So you can understand it. If you take a second to pay attention to it, you realize that it's not in English, but when you're looking at it, you understand what it is almost telling you to do, what the instructions are.
And what?
But it's not literally written in English. So
Okay.
I think I'll probably go back and forth and look through the lens and then look away sort of at it normally, and that this can't be this. What is it?
I haven't the foggiest. I'll flip a page and see if it does it on the next page, and like maybe just enough to see if like looking through the glass it kind of shifts, and then flip another page and just like not even like properly reading it, but just seeing if it works like on all the pages, if there's something there.
Yes, it continues to sort of in a serpent-like fashion wind itself around into, if you look at it for more than about a second, then the section that you are looking at will be comprehensible to you in some way. Albert and Willie are kind of hanging back kind of at the entrance of this little cavernous area that you were in, looking uncomfortable and kind of caressing their guns in, you know, that's their comfort in this difficult time.
Looking around the rest of the room, are there any other corridors or doorways leading out, or is it a sort of one in, one out?
It's just this almost, it's sort of rectangular, but with sort of bits, you know, slightly out of shape of it. But yeah, no other corridors leading off. This is obviously just a kind of basement area from what you can see.
Should we take this? Should we remove it from here? I wonder if it does anything, if the language, the writing still shifts around like this, if it's removed from this room. Is this? I mean, there's this pulpit and everything. It seems significant, but I wonder whether it is.
Looking at the pulpit, does that look normal? Does that look like a standard?
It's sort of like a standard sort of book stand. So it's pulpit like, it's not necessarily a pulpit,
Sure.
but it's sort of like a wooden display stand, I guess would be the.
Which way is it facing? If you're standing behind the pulpit reading the book, are you facing where you entered from? Or? Into
the room area. So as you come into the sort of this basement room, it's in front of you there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sort of somehow able to pass this as we're seeing it, although that probably is quite a difficult thing for someone to mention that's happening. But are all the pages that are being flicked through all refer to that same spell, Jonny, or is it?
So Eliza was flicking through with reasonable speed, so you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell at this point. If you want to spend some more time on it, then I can answer that.
I think if Samuel felt that he was somehow comprehending it, he's less worried about why at this point and just wants to understand it a bit better. So he might ask Eliza to just return to that initial page. Hold on a second. Can we just look at that for a second longer?
Yes, of course. I'll try. I guess I'll try and estimate it. I think Edmund had his finger in it originally, but on the right page. If it's still there, I'll jump back. If not, I'll make a best guess.
this is going to sound ridiculous, but I feel like it makes sense to me.
But only
I
when you're
can't read
looking
it, but
through, right?
yeah. Does anyone else feel
Yes.
like that? Like I can pass this for sure, although I don't
I mean,
recognize any of the words.
I can read it. It makes no sense to me. I don't. Contacting an extraterrestrial.
I didn't want to say it, but that's how I understand it. Also,
presumably, it was open at this page, and we heard voices on the first night. Do we think that was what Sir John was doing? Putting aside the moment that this is simply ridiculous, of course.
Yes, maybe. I mean, I've just been transported through to see stars and something that is very not terrestrial.
And of course, Thomas's disappearance.
Exactly. If you can summon something, perhaps you can send it away as well. Maybe he didn't go missing in the hill fort. Maybe do you think Sir John brought him here and did away with him somehow? I'll maybe try like flicking to another page and like actually trying to look at that and see if it looks different to the first page, like rather than just flicking madly.
Yes, if you go to another page, the content of it is different to the first one. However, this one, are you going to literally the next page?
Yeah, just the next page now.
So it's also about contacting something, but you are aware that it is something else.
Yeah, okay. Well, what about? Well, I think we should maybe take this. This is obviously significant. I would hate for this to go missing if we have to leave here. But I wonder. So the other mystery, of course, was that Sir John disappeared. He came down here and then he reappeared somewhere else. There must be another way out of here. We couldn't see any other doors from upstairs until we used the magnifying glass. Do you think we ought to have a quick look around here?
That might be a good idea, yes.
Let me watch the stairs while you look.
Someone take the book. I'll run around the edges. I'll have a quick look around the walls.
Do you want to make a spot hidden?
I would love to. 33, which I think, yeah, that passes.
Yeah, there's a corridor.
There's another door. There's a corridor here. There's another way. Surely this must take us out. Did you say Sir John came out from the front of the house? Maybe, do you think it would take us all the way to the hill fort?
There's only one way to be sure, I guess.
Has somebody taken the book? Take the book.
I guess, okay. How large is it?
Sort of like this kind of size.
Okay.
Like larger than a novel, but
Sure,
not
but it's not.
but not enormous. It's not unwieldy.
Okay. Okay. I'll pick it up.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
There's no issue caused by you picking it up, just in case you were prepped for something.
No, it's more, yeah, stealing things.
Well, there's no such qualms. This way, Mr. Moore, Willie, are you coming?
Yes, of course. They both kind of finish prepping their guns and head along with you.
Right. Wielding glass and torch.
Does this still look like part of a house? Does it still look like it was constructed, or is this sort of extra?
Yeah, so this is it's it's definitely basement-like. So it's quite sort of dingy, but it's you can kind of spot little bits of like grey brickwork in the walls. So it's not just like a cavern. It has been purposefully built down here as part of the building.
Okay.
Or do you mean the corridor?
Well, I'll be looking at both. So as we go through the corridor, I'll be kind of
So this is much more dug out, with sort of wooden beaming and struts, like your kind of classic tunnel, I suppose, as opposed to being this isn't as well crafted as the basement is built. It is definitely a dugout tunnel with wooden support.
Okay.
This is curious. I think Albert mentions it was odd that the or was it you, Mr. Costa, you mentioned that it was odd that the wheel with the lights for the gas that was down here in this hidden section. I wonder whether this was hidden after some discovery or whether this was always secret and I don't know, it's peculiar, but this seems different.
So the method of hiding this place is not all
extraordinary.
Yes. So I can't imagine. We should. If only Agnes were still around, we could. It would be interesting to know whether any of the house staff are aware of that door. Was there a door that was always there but has been hidden, or?
Somebody must know about this. That we would never have found this by chance, and the tools to find this place were just laid in front of our feet.
Yes.
By someone. Whether they're trying to help or hinder us, I don't know.
Just to double check, did you have a light source with you?
Eliza's got a torch.
Okay, just because the tunnel is not lit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I've got.
Fine.
I think I stowed the gun, torch, and magnifying glass in hand.
So you're heading into the tunnel, aren't you? So it's basically a straight line ahead of you until the point that the torchlight dies. You can see it continues on past that. So there is a way, at least a few hundred meters.
Okay. When you say dies, you don't mean cuts off. You just mean sort of fade
No,
out.
I mean until you can't. Yeah, until the point it no longer lights what you're looking at. Yeah.
Well, I think we ought to have a little time to go a bit further. I don't know how long this will go on. We may have to turn back, but are we right to carry onwards for a little longer?
I would like to know if there is another entrance to this place. Yes.
Yes. Keep going.
Okay. Are you sort of looking around you as you're walking as well? Yeah,
I think so.
Eliza probably isn't, but yeah, the others maybe.
Okay. Anybody who's paying attention, can you make a spot hidden roll for me?
Let's have a look. No, 100.
Okay. Ooh.
I also failed 65.
Bad dice.
Okay.
Don't suppose Albert or Willie were having a look at anything, were they?
I will roll for Albert, actually. Yes, Sam is unfortunately unable to join us this evening, so I'm going to be doing a poor job of pretending I'm him. He has succeeded. So he and Willie at the back of the pack by a few feet. You hear the sound of a metal gun barrel sort of smacking into what sounds like a kind of hollow wooden sound behind you. and he says, "Think I found something."
Oh. Shine the torch over that way.
You can see that on the roof of the tunnel looks to be some kind of trapdoor.
Hmm.
Oh.
Shall we see where we are?
Absolutely.
He kind of he gives a little look to Willie, and then stands with his gun as Willie uses his gun to fling the door open. Presume you're still pointing the torch at the... Yeah.
Is the daylight coming down, or?
No, it's dark outside now.
Okay.
Because it's getting on for 5 o'clock. And it looks completely dark where you are, apart from the light that Eliza is shining through.
So I'm going to gesture to Samuel will gesture to sort of Willie or Albert as if to say, "Can you give us a leg up?"
Yep. Albert kind of keeps hold of his gun and nods to Willie to give you a leg up. So Willie kind of puts his hands down and boosts you up.
As he's doing that, I think Eliza will just like subtly from the back just shove the magnifying glass in front of her and see if anything looks different as he's climbing up.
No, nothing's any different there. So Samuel is basically in darkness.
So it's completely dark. Can't see anything, any lights or anything. If I look around.
No lights. If you were to guess based on where you've come from and the fact that there's no light around you and the little bit that you can see from the torchlight coming through, you think you might be in the hill fort.
Okay. Can I reach down with my hand and just ask Eliza for the torch? Can I just take that for a second?
Yes, go on. Here you go.
So just have a quick sweep around.
Is anybody who's in the tunnel scared of the dark? Because it's pitch black down there.
Not yet.
Okay. Yes, you are definitely in the hill fort, Samuel.
Okay. So Samuel will just drop straight back down. Hand the torch back to Eliza. We're right below the fort.
Very literally connected then. All right. But this carries on. This tunnel. This goes further.
At least we've got another way out if we need it.
That's true. Shall we carry on a little longer? Maybe
We still have some time. Yes. Why not?
maybe eyes to the ceiling then. Excellent spot, Albert.
Yes, well, my mind's not completely gone, he says, and Willie shoots him a mildly concerned look.
All right. Let's continue. Go on a bit further. And yeah, light up, forward and up a little bit.
You continue for a couple of minutes. Nothing. It just continues in front of you as far as you can see.
Is it straight? Does it?
It's almost unnervingly a straight line.
Who dug this?
So is it like smooth? Is it like...
No, it's dug. So some of the edges, bits have clearly sort of fallen away a little bit at the side. So it's not like a straight rectangle. But yeah, the direction of it is
dead straight.
We have to keep going.
I agree. Thoughts on skipping the circus, or do we think we have to get back for that? So John will wonder where we are, surely, if we're not back in time for the performance.
I imagine you're right, yes.
I suppose we ought to keep a slightly closer eye on the time, but at least we know how far we've come so far. I think we have a little more time. Yeah, let's carry on. Let's carry on.
I might make a mark in the wall or something.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, to indicate, yeah.
There are the wooden panels, so you could quite easily sort of scratch something into one of those if you wanted to. Obviously, they're less changeable than the wall itself. If you dug a bit out, it might, fall away and you'd lose it. So, yeah. You carry on for another couple of minutes. Nothing.
How long would it take to dig something like this?
I suppose it depends on the tools available, the manpower available. Again, what if I bring the magnifying glass ahead? Anything straight ahead if we look through that?
Nope.
Is it kind of going deeper, or is it literally just kind of running in parallel to where we think the ground is?
Yeah, you think you're the exact same different distance under the ground.
How and the trap door, how was there much depth? How did it seem like a thick? This may sound crazy, but is there a thick layer between where the sort of roof of the tunnel was and where Samuel emerged in the hill fort? Almost as if it wasn't a trap door. If we'd just happened to pick that point to dig upwards, would that be? Was it quite shallow, or was it
Yeah, it wasn't enormously thick at that point, but that is in the sort of dipped area. So the sort of the main ground level around you is, feet higher than that. Yeah. So there was sort of a cutout recess of maybe 2 feet before the trapdoor.
Look, he would miss us all if we're not there, but would he miss one or two of us? I'm just wondering if
he wouldn't go for the announcement when Mr. Thomas was missing. I think he would care if it were just one of us, even. That would prevent the announcement. Maybe he wouldn't care for the circus performance, although if this Mr. George Smith has appeared now, perhaps he would care. I don't know.
I do wonder what his motivations are regarding this and regarding us.
I mean, so if John has access to whatever strange powers, science, abilities, whatever, have created this strange hidden basement and this bizarre book and whatever I saw with the stars and that magnifying glass, this is something incredible, literally incredible. And if he's still afraid of Mr. George Smith,
yes,
beyond what even he's capable of, and possibly speaking with extraterrestrial beings, whatever we read, and he's still more afraid of this other man, I think we probably don't want to cross him.
The question is, how do we pretend that we're still unaware? Because as soon as we confront anybody,
The jig is up.
yes. Now at this point, so we know that Sir John can still get into the basement through the trapdoor. He doesn't need the magnifying glass. It'll slow him down, certainly, but he can still get in there.
That's very true.
Sorry, out of character. Do we know that for sure? I'm just trying to think.
Well, because we didn't have to use the magnifying glass to get through the trapdoor from this direction. I guess we don't know whether you'd need to.
Sorry, that was a presumption of mine that we didn't need
that.
Yeah. Actually, that is a good point for coming. When we came through down to the basement, once we were through the door, when Albert and I looked back towards you, we didn't need to be looking through the magnifying glass. But I think you needed to. It was almost like a one-directional thing.
Mm.
So maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't.
Sorry, just to check out of character, when we left the basement area with the book, did we need to use the magnifying glass to get through a secret door, or was it
for the corridor? You did, yes.
Oh, okay, right.
That was a sort of follow. However, Samuel didn't have it when coming back down through the trapdoor into the tunnel from the hill fort. So you could maybe presume that the assumption is that won't be found potentially, which is, it may not be hidden with the same effect or whatever is on the other two areas that you've seen.
If we're serious about being discreet here, I think we need to put the book back.
I do worry what will happen if he finds it gone. And what do we intend to do with it?
I worry what happens if we leave it and he can use it.
Yes, true.
Why don't we show him the glass? We can just show him it, see how he responds, see how he reacts. Say that we found it.
Which we did.
That's true.
I just wonder if he is being coerced in some way.
Maybe help.
Perhaps.
Although I'd struggle to trust him.
Absolutely.
You don't always need to trust somebody to help them.
Do you think this is some kind of technology that they want to sell, or they want? I can't see any use for this.
I can see if hiding something in plain sight. Now that there are people would certainly be willing to pay for that.
It would be phenomenally useful. And if there is some method of transporting people across the stars, I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what I would do with something like that, but I'm sure somebody can.
I do. Now that we know that there is a trapdoor in the hill fort, I'm less the fact that people have gone missing from within it is less unbelievable to me.
Yes.
But again, yes, there are many unknowns in this. This is so far away from my field. It's not particularly amusing.
I think I want to see what Sir John's announcement is before we tell him anything about what we know.
The more I think about it, I think you're right about the book. I think we should keep it. I worry about what they may want to use this for. What if we're not satisfied with this announcement? We may wish that we'd not left them with whatever this is, whatever technology they have.
And if Sir John has misplaced a spyglass, the magnifying glass, then perhaps. Well, no, I'm sure he'll know that someone took the book, but.
Although
I don't think we.
And he can't get back down, he wouldn't know.
True. I don't think we owe him any favors anyway. Put it that way.
Agreed.
So,
Should
Where
we head
to?
back then? Take the book with us? Return to the drawing room or something and wait for them to return and take us to the circus?
Can I make a suggestion here that we don't appear out of the wall into the house without first making sure that the coast is clear? Perhaps one of us could head up the trapdoor and go in and
That
give
seems
you a
reasonable.
knock from the other side if it's safe.
Well, perhaps we should all come out through the trapdoor then, and maybe we've just gone for a walk for the evening. They went out to the village. We could have left at any time since then. And for all they know, we've just now come back from a walk around the grounds.
You're right.
We do only have one source of light too, so
Yes.
yes, that's.
I think we ought to stick together. It's very, very clever, Mr. Thomas. It's good thinking.
Albert says, well, Willie, looks like your arms will be getting a workout as you help us all up.
Poor Willie, he's been through the mill.
All right.
Okay, so you're heading back towards the house.
And up
Through the trapdoor, through the, yeah.
You don't think you've got confused about which way is back to the house yet?
It was just a straight line, right?
Yeah.
I did make that mark on the wall, so
You did, yes.
We shouldn't have been talking and like walking around in circles,
Yes,
just busy
yeah.
ourselves.
Spinning each other around.
Yeah, so you make it back to the trapdoor area. Would Samuel have closed it behind him on the way down, I would presume?
Yeah.
Albert kind of pokes it open again, and he gets Willie to give him a leg up first, and then proceeds to help everybody out. So Willie kind of gives people a leg up and Albert grabs by the arm. And then he turns to Samuel and Edmund and says, would one of you help me with Willie?
certainly, yes.
And then kind of grab an arm each and hike him up. And yes, you can hear the circus noises, not the music. But yes, it's kind of it's not clattering as much now. You think they're probably near to finishing setting up. And you can actually see some sort of lights from the entrance of the hill fort from the circus.
Well, I guess we should check the coast is clear and
back to the house, meet the others, presumably to the circus.
there was pales into insignificance with all of this, but the gardener did mention Sir John's library. If we can find that, it might be worth a quick look. But honestly, I don't imagine that anything we find there will be will compare to what we found so far.
Book.
It's certainly worth a check.
We ought to hide this book somewhere.
Yes.
Albert says, I have little interest in a library, but I'd much rather spend the evening there than in that damned circus.
Do you think, I wonder whether the book is better hidden at Sir Stuart's house than in the main house?
It does make sense.
So maybe look to Albert, like whether perhaps...
Or perhaps in the carriage?
We need a quick getaway.
Willie says, I could take it and hide it somewhere.
Is that all right, Mr. Moore?
Oh, I feel awkward for getting
In the carriage or in the house? Do you think?
If there is somewhere discreet in the carriage, it might be best to hide it there.
Others may be less likely to come across it there as well.
Aye, we'll walk back towards the house together, and then I'll nip round and hide that away.
There must be a secure spot where the guns are kept on the carriage or something like that, I'm sure.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Willie. All right, shall we head back to the house then? Perhaps we can ask Sir John about the library if we come across him, and mention that the gardener spoke of it, rather than just trying to find it and being a little rude, snooping about. Wouldn't want him to catch us snooping about his home, would we?
No, I guess not. I presume we haven't seen, because we've seen a billiard room in the corridor.
You haven't seen a library room. You might guess that it was on one of the, either it could potentially be on the floor that you're on. There's a couple of rooms there that you haven't seen, or there's another floor. So there are plenty of rooms still unexplored that it could be in without, And Albert says, well, if the man didn't want us to see his library, he has ways of concealing it from us, clearly, so he can't be concerned about it.
That is very true, Mr. Moore. All right.
Well, I think I might. Yes, just pop to my room and ensure that the evidence of the tunnel is not left on my clothing. Freshen up a bit.
Yes, freshen up for an evening's performance.
Of one sort or another.
I think Samuel will have a cigarette outside in the meantime.
Yeah.
Okay. So heading back to the house, Willie disappears off round the back of the house to where the carriage and horses are kept. And Albert checks whether Eliza is going inside, and if so, he heads off with Willie.
Yes, I think I'll head to my room, freshen up a little, and maybe have a drink before the performance.
Right, I'll go and keep Willie company. Make sure he's safe.
Of course. Thank you both.
So Steve's cleaning up. Samuel is having a cigarette in the cold night air.
Looking up at the stars.
Keeping an eye on the wildlife. You see the sort of milling around the circus of the work hands and stuff, and it's much less tumultuous than it was last time you saw it. There are a number of areas sort of clearly set out and finished now.
Can we still hear the music?
No music at the moment.
Phew.
Apart from the odd sort of bang or clatter from down there, it's pretty quiet. And quite dark. It's quite overcast. So apart from the lamps, there's not really much natural light occurring. So Albert and Willie appear after a few minutes from around the corner. And Albert says, Mr. Thomas, Willie and I are going to head inside and have a drink.
Okay, I might see you through there in a few minutes.
he heads in. So they are in the drawing room. So if anybody kind of comes down, you would bump into them in there.
Yeah, that's where I'd head once I'm done upstairs. I think I'll maybe keep the magnifying glass on me though, but tucked away in a pocket somewhere.
Yes, on the way back down, I think I will check the other doors on this level. Just sort of have a quick peek through quietly. Just see if I can find this library. But no major sort of.
The door nearest the stairs, you open, and it basically continues along the rest of the length of this floor. So there is quite a sizable room with some sort of green leather sofas, room height, nice wooden bookcases, full of books.
Okay.
It's a very nice library room.
This is going to take time to... Okay, well, I know where it is. So then, yes, I'll go back down to meet the others, I think.
So everybody meets in the drawing room, unless Samuel is still outside.
I think if he's had... I think if he's had 5 minutes or more, then he's fine and he'll come into the drawing room. Yeah.
Cool. Albert and Willie already have the good whiskey out.
Of course.
At least we'll have put a dent in his collection, if nothing else. I've happened to find the library. By the way, it is on our floor. So if we have some time, we can do some research.
Looking at a clock or something, is that what sort of time are we at now? Are we nearing half? Must be nearing 5:30 by now.
You're about 10 past 5 currently.
Okay. Time for a quick browse.
Well, as Mr. Moore said, I'm sure if he didn't want us going in there, it would be locked somehow. Yes, maybe a little browse for some bedtime reading. Go up, going up, maybe to have a look to see if it looks at all catalogued.
Albert says, "Well, I think Willie and I could both do with steadying our nerves a little more. So perhaps we'll leave the research to you, especially if there's any chance there are any more books like that last one."
Indeed. I don't imagine he'd keep them on in plain view, but again, with his methods of concealment, who can say?
In a way, the other spot was hidden rather in plain sight, wasn't it? Let's have a look.
So I guess Edmund will be trying to get a measure of the sort of books in the collection, if it skews in any particular way. Also, if any books are out on tables or stuff like that.
So, in general, in the collection, there's quite a wide array. You would say, at a rough count, there were high hundreds, if not 1,000 books total in here. So there's fiction and historical books, more than one copy of the Bible, sort of family history kind of section of the Stuarts. And
newspapers and journals and things like that. Is there any kind of current affairs stuff, like things that either from Eliza's paper or Mr. Walker's paper, anything like that? Just giving me some about us, wondering whether you can see any of that clearly recently.
There's a couple of days worth of the local paper on like a reading table. There's not sort of a big collection of newspapers or anything. And
the local papers then, the recent ones there. I think Eliza might have a little look at those.
Okay. Do you all want to make me library use rolls and then kind of tell me what you're looking for, and we'll see where that gets us?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess the three things that have sprung to mind for me are number one, the Curious Hare, local legends. Number two, history of the Hill Fort, and the third one, in terms of the family history, is Sir John mentioned an incident that caused his need to check the gas, to turn the gas off every night. So yes, I'll be looking for any sort of tragedies in, if there's a nice potted history of that sort of thing. But yes, the roll is important. Oh, I get 12, which I think is almost certainly.
That might be an extreme success.
Library use. I have 60 in library use, so 12
that's
versus
a fifth.
60.
Yeah. So that's a tick if you don't have one yet.
Yes.
I got a 49 out of 50 for mine.
Okay.
Looking through the local papers, just if there's anything of interest that's or anything unusual in particular that's happened locally that people seem to be, local gossip that maybe is more than it seems.
Okay. And Matt?
So I rolled a 10 against a 70.
So that's a tick for you as well. And what do you think Samuel's keeping an eye out for mostly?
So I think his initial sweep is looking for something that looks aesthetically similar to the book that we found. So not really looking at content, but just looking like it might have been from the same publisher, as daft as that sounds. And then any kind of science fiction or anything that skews in that direction. He's kind of looking for. Again, he's kind of hoping that this is all just something a bit daft. But
okay, so in Samuel's search, he finds that there are a few sort of older leather-bound books which you might at first glance think look similar to the book that you picked up, but each of them are not anything like that. So one of them is they're all sort of in the relevant sections as well. So one of them is an old Bible, which is with the other Bibles, and there's a couple of sort of older fiction books which are in this leather bound, and they're they probably did have title and author on previously, and they've just sort of worn off. So nothing of that. In the science fiction stakes, he's got a couple of Jules Verne books with Journey to the Center of the Earth jumping out at you following your recent excursion. Whether that's just your brain picking up on that because you've just been in a big tunnel, you're not sure. You don't know whether he would have dug an enormous tunnel under his house because he'd read Jules Verne. But you probably wouldn't rule anything out at this point, I suppose. That's basically what Samuel finds looking for that stuff. Eliza finds in the newspapers, as you're looking through, you do spot that there is something written by you in one of them, and also something by Thomas Walker, so he has either decided because of those things to contact you, or after already deciding to contact you has been kind of keeping up with your work. You're not sure which it is. They're from sort of a month ago, so it could be either. And in terms of the local paper stuff, what is mostly of note to you is the lack of mention of really anything to do with anything that's been going on here. So there's no mention of Thomas being missing. There's no mention of any sort of redundancies or anything like. There's basically no mention of Sir John's estate at all, which is more noticeable than anything that is in there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
And Edmund, so you're looking for family history to do with the gas thing, anything to do with the hair, and what was the other thing? Sorry.
History of the Hill Fort, if there's anything.
Okay. So in the family history stuff, and I think probably the amount of time that it would take you to look through this stuff, you could probably employ Samuel and Eliza to assist with some of it, because their sections were sort of shorter, so it'll speed you up a bit up. So in the family history stuff, how far back will you look?
I guess to affect him, it must have been in the recent past, like a couple of generations, maybe. I don't think I go too far back.
Okay. You are probably just about to give up when you find something from roughly 70 years ago.
Okay.
To do with a fire to his great grandparent, and you would guess that it was before he was born, based on what you would guess his age is if you don't know his age.
Okay.
That's the only thing that you can find. That's not to say that is definitely what it is, but that is the only thing that you can find that jumps out at you as relevant in that sense.
Interesting. I wouldn't have expected Sir John to be affected quite so deeply by, given the age difference. This is strange. And I will be thinking back to the situations of my particular injury at that point.
Hillfort history. You find a history book on the local area, and there is mention of it in there in the sense that you would expect with regards to it being an Iron Age hill fort and sort of any battles that took place, that kind of thing. Nothing sort of paranormal or supernatural. However, as Samuel is looking through this stuff, he jumps back to one of the sort of worn leather-bound history books that he found, and sort of flicks it open to Edmund in a section about rituals that used to take place by pagan groups in the area who used to believe that they were contacting some kind of god, and they used the hill fort as their ritual site.
So I think I kind of present that without commentary to the group.
Perhaps they weren't so far off as I would have previously assumed.
Is there any detail around the ritual, or is it just kind of speaks to some kind of ritual?
So there are mentions of, as with any old ritual that is mentioned in a book, there are mentions of sacrifices and things like that taking place. And they're basically tied in with sort of old pagan witchcraft in the sort of methodologies. So often, a fire atop the hill fort, and then dancing and chanting and all the typical things that you would imagine. And of course, this is all somebody's opinion of what might have happened then. Because nobody was there, but they sort of they cite sort of grass not growing in a particular area, so there may well have been fires there and that kind of thing. So it's kind of backed up, but yeah, it certainly sticks out at you as something notable.
I wonder whether a circus performance might almost look ritualistic in some ways, from different lens, through a different lens. And they're the hill fort after all. Curious.
Interesting that Agnes, was it mentioned that they would have gatherings there as staff?
Yes, that's right.
Maybe it just has that kind of energy.
And this thing about sacrifice, can't help but think of poor Thomas.
I still don't understand why Sir John would have wanted to, if indeed he was, would have wanted to get rid of him, unless Thomas found something that he shouldn't have, I guess.
Sacrifice, it's ritual. It's not about wanting to get rid of him. It's about wanting access to whatever it unlocks. Mr. Moore is a very special man, and his relationship with Willie is wonderful, but not all men care about their staff in the same way. I doubt he'd have given poor Thomas a second thought if it gave him access to something he wanted.
He seemed unhappy that he was back.
Maybe he was afraid that having given up Thomas, if Thomas returns, his gift would be returned as well. Whatever this is, I don't know. I guess it's
anyway,
assumption, but it's interesting nonetheless.
As to what we do with this information, I don't know. It is interesting that I can't. Again, I struggle to believe that anybody could get in contact with anybody else, anything else, with a book. That makes no sense to me at all. But then again, I don't understand how that lens. How can observing something change its state? I don't. This is way beyond me, I'm afraid. Still,
revealing a hidden door does somehow seem very different to speaking with another creature from beyond the stars. And frankly, if I hadn't seen beyond the stars myself, I would have still thought that that other book was nonsense. There's something, though. There's something.
Well, we have all walked through a wall. That much is. It was solid.
We walked through a door
Oh,
that appeared to be a wall.
yes, but it was it.
I could dismiss that as a trick if it weren't for everything else that we've seen. But along with everything else, it does seem so much more unusual.
Anyway, if we have a few more minutes, did we happen to find anything on local legends and the hare?
If you continue looking after the history book, you've got probably 10 minutes until 5:30.
Why not? Why not? I'm sure Albert would.
Yes, you find a sort of local folklore book which has the kind of a slightly different version of the rhyme that the gardener told you, but not different in a substantial way, just in a sort of the way that different people would give the same tale. But it also mentions the hare as like a kind of trickster, like he said, but also there are some mentions of the hare as a shapeshifter.
Okay.
Other than that, basically what the gardener told you about the kind of kind of playing jokes on travelers and that kind of thing.
Whether the magnifying glass would make the pear appear like something else. Perhaps it reveals things as they really are. A wall is actually a door. Perhaps a hare is really a...
Well, what?
I think Samuel's kind of got his head in his hands at this point. I think he's forgotten about the hare. And, everything else he's been thinking, right, this is some kind of very advanced technology, and then the hare is obviously the hare seems to sit outside of the project or whatever it might be that's happening in the castle, and that also can't be explained. So yeah, he's just kind of disengaged now and just having his hands.
One more drink before the circus, then?
Yeah.
Yes, make it a double.
We're of one mind. All right, let's go find Albert then, shall we? I might grab one of the local papers, or just whichever one's on top, and maybe bring it down with me, actually.
Okay. You head down, and it's still just Albert and Willie in there. Albert kind of raises his glass to you as you come in. Find anything?
Found books, papers. Not sure what you'd be most interested in, Mr. Moore. But, I suspect you found the thing you were most interested in. I see you're getting through the whiskey.
Yes.
No sign of Sir John returning?
No sign of anybody in the time you've been gone.
The performance was meant to start at 5:30. Maybe they were heading straight there after dinner. Maybe we ought to go directly there ourselves.
Perhaps they were. I'm not sure that's reason for us to go.
That's a good point. Any members of staff?
We've seen nobody come through here in the time you've been away. Although I'm not sure we've seen any staff anywhere other than the dining and kitchen areas in the time we've been here, so perhaps that's not so strange.
How is the carriage?
Willie says, yes, all tucked away.
Out of interest, how many people can you get in that thing?
Well, Mr. Thomas, if you want to leave it a pace, we could fit all of us here in this room in, and we could make a relatively speedy escape.
That's a comfort.
Not for those left behind, perhaps.
At that, Samuel will down his drink.
I might poke my head in at the in the kitchens and just maybe there's been some instruction left for us if we returned. Sir John didn't tell us to go directly to the circus or anything, did he?
He suggested we might have been too long. There was the option for us to go to the pub in the village, but perhaps I don't know whether we're too late for that. I don't know whether they're still there or. But no, there was no specific instruction to my knowledge.
Yeah, I'll go around to the dining, the kitchens, and just knock, see if there's anyone in there. Poke my head in.
There is no answer. Although, just to clarify, you wouldn't necessarily expect there to be anybody there because they've gone for dinner.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that he's given them the night off, as it were.
Yeah. I'll come back through them. I don't think there's anybody there either. I think everybody must be straight to the circus.
Quick question: is the entrance to the estate? Do you have to go past the circus to get out?
No, opposite direction.
Okay, right.
So the house is basically the first thing that you get to when you come in. So everything else is past the house. Apart from maybe the walled garden is actually first along the path before the house.
Well, I guess we have a choice. We can either pay the circus a visit or see whether they're still at the pub. I don't know.
Or we could stay here and keep looking. Or leave entirely on that carriage and with the book and get out of here altogether.
I like that idea.
I do want to see Sir John's announcement, though. I think we would be very conspicuously missing if we don't attend the circus.
Let's assume for a moment that whatever this technology is, or whatever they found, I can't think of a way that we would use this for anything other than ill. And I struggle to imagine the consequences of us summoning something from the heavens as, again, being anything positive. I just can't imagine what this proposition would be.
Generations of people going back hundreds and thousands of years have appealed to the heavens for help and guidance. Most people look to the stars and look to God for good, not for ill. I don't think many would necessarily agree that appealing in such a way is only going to bring danger or destruction or ill effect of some kind. We don't know what this does. I don't like it. I think it's unnerving at best. But I'm sure there are more charitable uses. interpretations. I don't know.
However I was passing that page, it wasn't God in my mind. But perhaps I was wrong.
Well, I think very often the things that we don't understand, we ascribe to all sorts of different powers, and well, I can imagine that for those pagans, I mean, we have the benefit of many, you know, accumulated generations of knowledge and understanding. It's still a mystery to us that this is still incredible, but to them, the pagans, what footing did they have to explain any of this? So I can see that they might have jumped to the idea that they were contacting their god, their powerful being. But I still don't know where this is going. Sir John talked of an opportunity. I don't know who is this opportunity for?
What
is it truly for us?
Of this, that like you say, he spoke of an opportunity. There must be a specific application he has in mind. And yes, you're right. For whom? We're a rather eclectic bunch.
But I still wonder. I still wonder whether George Smith, whether Sir John is in control of this, and whether perhaps Sir John is being played just as we suspect we are.
If there is some benevolent utility for this, why the theatre? Why the games? Why the secrecy?
It's a good question.
I'm not saying that Sir John has a benevolent utility in mind, but that isn't to say that there isn't one. We don't understand it. I'm not sure we can entirely judge it at the moment, at least. Although I don't like it, I must confess.
Some machines, some technology we might wish we never pulled out of the box.
Well, the last few years have shown us what harm we can do to each other with our own current technology. There is that to be borne in mind. But still, whether we're here or not, this technology or this opportunity or this discovery will still exist. If we leave now, we will have done nothing to either understand it or prevent it. So as much as I would like to turn my back on this situation, I feel a certain responsibility to see it through to the end.
Responsibility, curiosity. I have to know. I want to know. Damn it, I think I have to go to the circus.
Just as you say that, you hear from outside, and if you glance at the clock on the wall, you will see it is precisely 5:30 p.m.
Wow. I think Edmund will drain his glass.
Yes, I know the same. And the book, what do we... Is it safe to have that with us?
Well, it's not with us. It's in the carriage.
I just wonder whether we should send it away. Never mind. What choice do we have?
Perhaps we could, if Willie is stationed near the carriage, perhaps we could arrange a signal for him to escape with it, if
Remember,
needs be.
if that carriage disappears without us, that's our escape gone too.
That's true.
and I doubt taking it just down to the local village will do much good at all. It's close by, it's convenient, but it seems to be just as much under the control of whatever else is going on here. I think it would need to go much further than that to get under the grasp of whoever. But that means the carriage is gone too. I think I'd much rather have both a little closer to home.
Albert says, well, I have little issue with Willie being kept out of the main part of this, but yes, I agree it would be good for us to still have access to the carriage.
I think we need a signal not to remove this book, but perhaps to destroy it if we can. Is that overstepping things? It just feels like this is a crucial component in whatever they are planning to show us. We have some leverage here.
We don't have leverage if it's destroyed, and as much as it seems to be integral to whatever is going on here, it might also be the most important tool we have unraveling or undoing whatever has happened here. I'm reluctant to destroy it yet.
On that, I will defer to the group.
It is something worth considering, though. You raise a good point, but I think we need to be ready.
One way or the
other. Albert's leg is sort of bouncing up and down since the music has started outside. And Willie keeps shooting him sort of concerned glances. And pours him another whiskey.
It's amazing we can still speak. Well,
I think it's time to go to the circus. If anybody else is, I've got to admit, I'd feel a lot braver if you were coming with me, all of you. But
I will come with you. I don't know what use I can be, but I will at least stay with you.
Has Albert got like a fresh, proper glass of whiskey now, or is he to rush that one down?
He's just been poured one. You're pretty certain that he could just drink it straight down. As everybody's discussing what they're going to do, he says, I may just sit here and have this and then take up a vantage point similar to earlier.
It's not a bad idea.
I agree.
If things take a turn for the worse, well, you know what we've discussed.
Yes.
any cover story for why you're missing, if anybody asks?
Say I'm...
One too many whiskies and having
Yes.
a night.
Yes, it's too heavy with the drink. I don't feel is an unbelievable thing when staying at the home of a whiskey baron.
Quite. All right then. Shall we?
No time like the present, I guess.
Okay. So you head out. Those two stay in there for a moment. Oh, is Samuel going as well, or is he gonna? You sounded like maybe he was gonna sit and have a drink with Albert and Willie before heading out.
I think he was definitely considering it, but no, he'll join Eliza and Edmund, I think.
Okay. So you head outside. You are instantly sort of greeted by the sight of a number of people who you presume are villagers sort of filing towards the circus through the grounds. So they're sort of silhouetted against the big lights of the circus and the gas lamps along the pathways. Almost looks like a kind of like a Pied Piper sort of line of people just heading towards this circus. And as you look towards the circus, you can see like batons that are on fire being juggled by somebody, and cages. You're pretty certain you hear an elephant sort of trumpeting its trunk at one point, and a couple of snarls. So you're heading on down?
Yep.
Okay.
Confidently, yes.
So yeah, you kind of shuffle yourself along to the line of people that are wandering in. Families, like excited kids, kind of coming in and running down towards the cages with the biggest animals in. And yeah, you get down there. So the big top is sealed off at this point. As in the door flaps are down, not like it's, you know, cordoned off or anything. And there are a number of sort of sideshow tents and pop-up buildings around. What do you think you want to do?
Wow.
Anybody you recognize around?
What's that? Sorry.
Anybody that we recognize that we can see nearby?
You don't spot any of your group as you kind of briefly glance around. You spot a couple of people that you're pretty sure are staff members from the house in casual evening gear. But apart from that, it's not anybody. Matt Samuel spots the couple of gymnasts that he'd seen earlier kind of wandering around and changing between juggling and sort of doing little bits of close-up magic with kids and things like that. So that they're the only people that you would recognize, that the others wouldn't necessarily. But yeah, nobody else around that you're previously aware of.
Is there like a natural space where you think we're supposed to be as visitors, or does it feel like we're just kind of we're allowed to just kind of wander around?
Yeah, so basically it seems to be encircling the big top is all of these sort of separate little bits. So it seems like a kind of big ring of sideshow bits, basically. So anywhere is fine for you to be meandering through, really.
Okay. I might try. I think someone might try and catch the eye of one of the gymnasts and see if they recognize him. If they don't look like they recognize him, he probably won't say anything. But
yeah. So it was a guy and a girl. So the guy, you kind of catch his eye after he's finished pulling a coin out from behind a kid's ear, and he gives you a nod.
Hello again.
Hello.
Quite the crowd you've drawn over here.
Well, yes, like I said earlier, there's surely not that much else to be doing in a village this size.
What would you recommend us see?
Ooh. Well, there's of course, this whole conversation is taking place against the backdrop of the circus music and kind of sideshow announcements and all kinds of things. So he says, well, you've got there's the exotic animals. They're worth a view. The contortionists, they're definitely worth a look in. I mean, the most I can do is he kind of stretches a reasonable, he's relatively flexible as a gymnast, but he's they're a whole other species. And the Hall of Mirrors is very exciting. That one's quite new. So they'd probably be my picks. A kid kind of pulls on his top, and he goes, "Oh, stop that! Otherwise, I'll have to." And he basically like reaches into the kid's mouth and starts pulling out like handkerchiefs all tied together, and then kind of waves them in the air, and the kid claps. There's a couple of people kind of looking very shocked at that performance. So yeah, the recommendations from him are the exotic animals, the Hall of Mirrors, and the contortionists.
Samuel kind of turn around to the group. More lions, anyone?
Can't say I fancy another lion today.
We'd rather had our fill.
Yes, perhaps the contortionists or the mirrors, something a little bit different. Maybe the mirrors.
How did I know you were going to say that?
Theme of the day.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so there's a tent which has a lit up sign on it saying Hall of Mirrors, and another sign kind of with an arrow down pointing entrance. You heading in? Okay. Are you all going in?
I hope so.
Sure. This will be oddly comforting. I understand how this works.
Okay. So you wander in, and initially there is sort of some quite comical, the kind of bowed ones that make you look really round, and then the other ones that kind of squeeze you in at the middle, and then there's some that make you look really short, and then you round a corner, and suddenly realize that you seem to be in complete silence apart from any noise that you make, and kind of wander through. You can see each other in the mirrors as you look around, and you start to feel like maybe there's somebody kind of behind you following you through, but anywhere you look you can only see each other, either in real life or in the mirrors, and you keep wandering. And from outside you think that this tent was maybe sort of 30 yards by 15 yards, and you think you can't be 100% sure because you've been sort of twisting and turning, and it may just be that that's how this is laid out, but you feel like you should be out by now. And then you round a corner, and suddenly in whatever direction you look, all you can see is you three going on forever. Can you make a sanity roll, please?
I pass with 46.
I fail with 77.
I fail with a 71. Oh no,
Okay.
77 also.
One sanity loss each for Eliza and Samuel, please. Edmund, managing to maintain his composure, happens to spot the sort of the trick gap, which you can pass through, which has a kind of angled mirror past it, so it gives the illusion of the whole thing being circular, but spots that. However, Samuel and Eliza are quite shaken, so he may need to get their attention.
Are you all right? Are you?
Well, yes, but wait. Where are you? How do we go?
It's all right. They're just mirrors. They're just mirrors. The exit is over there. Follow me.
Which direction?
And I'll sort of reach out and offer an arm to Eliza and Samuel, if you know.
I was going to say. I think he's kind of giggling a little bit manically, maybe.
Perhaps the mirrors were a poor choice. Oh well.
And as soon as you get past that trick mirror, you basically hit the tent flap to take you outside, and as you lift it, you get the suddenly back at full volume. And yeah, everything is as it was outside, completely fine.
I'll just check the thickness of the material. Is it like really dense?
It's quite thick tarp, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're unsure whether you think it should have made it silent in there or not. You couldn't write it off as definitely that it hasn't made it that quiet in there, but you're not sure.
I feel like I'm getting paranoid about hearing noises and then paranoid about not hearing noises.
I mean, with what we've been through, it is understandable. I'm just glad we didn't see the hair in there.
Yes, although it did feel like there was almost somebody just around the corner or just out of sight. I've got to confess, I sort of wanted to go in there and see if there was anywhere that looked likely to a likely spot for the you know what. But I got a bit turned around and confused and a little bit scared at the end there. Thank goodness you found the exit, Mr. Carter.
That's quite all right. I'm glad. Yes, I did get the feeling that there was somebody else with us, but then again, that's what those places are designed to do, really.
Yes.
Again, theatre.
Samuel just kind of giggling a little bit and lighting a cigarette.
Are you all right, Mr. Thomas?
Oh, yes. No, I guess I'm laughing at myself as much as anything. Oh, dear.
Contortionists?
Why not?
Okay.
So you head in, and basically one side of this tent is like a walkway that everybody's supposed to wander down, and the other side is sort of different heights of raised platform, each of which has a contortionist on. So they're all quite impressive. You know, the sort of pretzel shapes that these people have managed to get themselves into. And there's one woman sort of repeatedly kind of, you know, folding herself backwards and legs back over and then going back the other way, and sideways versions of that and all that kind of stuff. And then you get to the last one, and can you make me We'll call it spot hidden roll.
Okay. Oh, 80. I don't make that.
Okay.
33 out of 65 for me, so I made that.
74 for me, so that's a fail.
Okay. Eliza notices that this final contortionist, even for a contortionist, is in a particularly knotted up state that you are not convinced is physically possible, even for somebody with this level of flexibility. And their eyes looking directly at you seem to be screaming for help. And you then realize, looking at the face, that you are 100% certain that this is Ian Tanner, the person who was introducing you on the first night at the castle. And then the on hands and legs starts to kind of move towards the edge of the raised platform. And then you blink and it's just a normal contortionist moving themselves around. The sound of the circus is back in your ears where there had only been silence. And can you make a sanity roll, please?
This is just Eliza.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, you've just seen a normal...
Poor Eliza.
Fail, 79.
Okay, 2 sanity loss, please.
Oh my god.
Really driving the sanity. This is.
I'm 1 away from a fifth of my total for today.
Just don't look at anything else.
I think I would just like keep staring at the contortionist and like just sort of blinking, like look away for a second, look back, and just almost like try and like force myself to see it again. Just.
Are you all right, Miss Smith? What?
So does it look like Ian Tanner now to me, or does it look like a whole different person?
No, it's a woman, like
Right.
a kind of slim young woman, like what you would imagine a female contortionist to look like, really.
Yeah. I'll just try and like as quietly as I can because I don't want anybody else to kind of hear. Just for a moment, I thought it was. I know this will sound completely mad again, but I thought it was that man who announced us the first evening. And just the way that it was, I was just looking, and the way it caught my eyes, and it looked like, oh, it was awful, just like a scream for help. It honestly, it just made me think, are these people trapped and being forced to perform, or I don't know, but and then just I blinked and everything was normal, and it was just this woman who looks nothing like the other man.
You've been through an awful lot today. I in this small occasion I didn't see anything. So.
But what if there's something happening here? The ringmaster, that awful man, said something about bringing the villagers here and wanting everybody to be here. And what if it's some sort of trap to that does something to people? Like
Might I? Do you still have the lens?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be possible to look through the lens fairly inconspicuously at can I like back up against something and just sort of keep myself reasonably unobtrusive and just survey the scenes through the lens? I just don't want to kind of like hold it right up to my eye.
Yeah, or you could somebody's probably got a scrap of paper on them. You could always pretend to be,
Okay, yeah.
Looking at something and then kind of, yes, there are ways for you to kind of have a look around.
Okay. I'll do that if I may.
You may, and you see nothing different to what you see without.
Well, this lens shows nothing different. I'm not sure whether that's a comfort or not. I'll hand the lens back to.
I'd have thought it was just a horrible flash of my imagination, but then you said you saw something in the stars about that constellation, and then a day later, I see that from that spot on the wall. What if this is like that? What if I've spotted some little flash of something that actually we discovered to be real in some horrible
Indeed.
way?
And yes, the another thing springs to mind, which is rather unsettling. We were reading about rituals, the pagan rituals, and I think you wondered whether, well, indeed, you wondered whether this whole circus might be. Is this circus? Is this going to be a ritual? Has George Smith brought this here with the intent to trigger something?
Lure many sacrifices. I am not so sure I want to be at the circus anymore.
No.
If I look around now, any sign of Sir John and the rest of the group?
Have you gone out of the contortionist tent?
Yeah, I don't come out.
No, there is no sign of them at the moment.
Well,
And no sign of the ringmaster?
Not currently, no.
I rather thought we needed to be here for Sir John being here and not being missing if we're meant to be here. But if Sir John isn't even here, then maybe we don't need to be here. Maybe we can go back to the house. I don't know. Sorry, Jonny, have we heard anyone talking about, or are there any posters or anything about like a sort of main event in the big top at like later on in the evening? Is it like circus opens to 5:30 for like these side acts, and then there's like a big show at the end, or?
Yeah, so it's 6:30 is supposed to be the beginning of when the big top opens, basically.
Yeah. Maybe they'll just be here for the show in the big top.
Possibly. I did think they were. They didn't leave much time for a meal if they were going to be back by 5:30. Actually, thinking about it.
That's true.
By the way, can we see Albert from here?
If you look out for him, because you know where he was previously, you can spot him at that same point.
Shall we tell him what we've seen? On the way there, I might be tempted to. So the big top it's closed. It's not sealed. It's just
the door flaps are down at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
I might be tempted just to take a quick peek inside. But I think possibly having a quick letting Albert know what's going on might be wise. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I think Samuel was inclined to have a look in the big top as well beforehand. So, can we make our way out via the big top, Jonny, in a kind of reasonable way, or is it quite a detour?
Yeah, so that's kind of in the center of the bit that you're in. So, and it's got 4 doors around it, or at least you would guess. It's got one sort of at the front of where you came in and one at the side that you're on. So you could imagine that it also has the other 2 sides as entrances. So you can kind of go in and out at a reasonable sort of angle if you wanted to get through.
Do you think we should see if we can preview the main event
Forewarned is forearmed.
Suppose so.
Okay, so I guess we head to the nearest entrance exit and see if we can peek through.
Okay. Yes, you lift up the flaps to the entrance, and it's relatively dark in here. Do you still want to continue through?
Well, now you're asking.
Can we flash the torch inside?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Eliza's got the torch. I don't know if anybody else has got another one, but I think Eliza wouldn't jump to that. I mean, obviously you can ask if you want, but like, yeah, Eliza wouldn't. I don't think Eliza would just flash a torch in there at this point.
Miss Smith, might I borrow that just for a moment?
Are we sure?
I would quite like to, maybe not walk through the place, but I would quite like just to take a glance.
Just before I hand it over then, Jonny, as we come up to this bit,
Yeah.
has there been, maybe not security is a bit strong, but like any, has there been anyone like, at the doors or at the flaps, sort of like.
No, so there's
like, or has it been just kind of like there's no one around and
there are signs up saying when the main show starts, and then there are sort of performers milling around, but there's nobody set on the door.
Yeah, there's no one on like, queue duty or anything, any of that kind of stuff. There's no.
Not currently. You'd imagine that they may work their way up and down the queue once a queue has formed later.
Yeah, but so it looks pretty deserted at the moment. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll hand over the torch then.
Well, if you two can cover for me, I'll just have a quick look.
Eliza might take that opportunity to pull out a cigarette and turn around, step, and just have a little sip facing the other way.
Okay. So you lift the door flap up. Are you just kind of peering in to begin with?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You lift the door flap. And just as you are about to click the torch on, a spotlight comes on, shining down into the center of the big top. And there's the hair. And we'll leave it there.
I'm so glad I didn't look at that. Well, I hope I don't see the hair again in a second, but oh my God.
Amazing.
Dangerously close to full on losing it here.
So there's that. Thanks, everybody. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and John can put them up on screen for us to discuss for you. And meanwhile, I'll do a promo rundown. So Monday nights, Call of Cthulhu. I would imagine that next week might be the finale. And then we'll probably have a week off and then come back for the final arc of the anthology. So Tuesdays at the moment, Blades in the Dark. Wednesdays at the moment, Coriolis. First Saturday of every month is a one-shot. So this coming Saturday, the 3rd of July, I am running Honey Heist, which is bears trying to steal honey from a honey convention. It's, very atmospheric. And 18th of July is the next time that Matt will be running Simba Room on the Free League Twitch. That's usually every 2 weeks. I think that covered everything. We don't know what the August one shot will be yet, but that'll be exciting as well. Do we have any? Cool. Wendelius, hello. Thanks for a fun session. I can't help but notice a lack of great opportunity. Again, question, are the anthology stories Jonny originals? They are, yes. Taken, well, as much as anything is an original. So my first arc, the Darkwood arc, I drew inspiration from something that actually happened. If you've watched it all, I think I went into it at the end of the last session of that. There was actually a weird thing in history where the family thing, basically somebody had been dug up and buried outside, and then buried back in the church, and then buried outside again. So I just took that and ran with it. And I'm quite heavily influenced by sort of folk horror stuff in general. So that's where a lot of my things come from, and also from things that the players do that I didn't expect them to do, that I then have to come up with creepy things that work, that make sense on. And I think that there is probably, we've kind of vaguely discussed there being a show on, like a a stream on that in the future, and sort of discussing which bits were actually supposed to be in the plot and which bits were on the fly and stuff, which could be quite fun. If I can even remember, because they just kind of, so some of the bits that probably have seemed like main plot in both of the series have kind of come out of nowhere. So it's all fun. But yes, theoretically, they are Jonny originals. How confident is Eliza that she will finish the day without any more sanity loss? Yes, Inga. At about 5:45 p.m., how confident is Eliza that she will finish the day without any more sanity loss?
Is it 24 hours? When did we arrive at the castle?
That's true. Yeah, I think that.
However you calculate it, whether it's by the time we go to bed, whether it's midnight, whether it's up until the time I woke up last morning, there's still too many more hours left in the day, I think, for me to feel at all confident that there won't be any more sanity loss. But yeah, I think I've lost 11 sanity so far today, or since waking up this morning anyway. And what did I say? No, I've lost 10, sorry, now, and 11 is the sort of the fifth.
Your fifth.
Which is that threshold. So yeah, it's dangerously close now.
But not say anything nasty in the finale then.
I'm feeling real confident about that, yeah.
Glad he said handkerchiefs, not testicles.
Tentacles,
yes.
please.
Oh,
tentacles.
Jeez.
Oh dear.
Both quite bad. There's no concern.
Can we edit that?
Can we edit that out? Yeah.
I just want to say, Jonny, HR would like to speak with you after the stream.
Wow. Well, yes, next week will be the last one.
Yes, if this week isn't. Oh, goodness me. Tentacles.
Sanity.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. That was entirely a misread. Any more questions or comments? Please, something, anything. That is everything, says John.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear. Well, yes. Thanks, everyone, and sorry for ruining it. We hope to see you all next week for the Hare's one-man show in the Big Top. It's going to be very exciting. And also, please join us on Saturday for Honey Heist with Bears and Honey. And if you haven't watched the teaser trailer yet, then I think it's really good. So, yeah, it's on our YouTube, and maybe somebody will post it in the chat. I don't know. Anyway, it's on YouTube. And is it on our Twitch?
I don't think it is. It wasn't when I last looked. I think
it's on the YouTube. It's fun. So, yes, please join us on Saturday, and please join us next Monday for probably the finale. John has posted it in the chat. Thanks, John. Yes, hopefully see you all next week and maybe on Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.